And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the HVAC 2.0 show. Got a small crew with us tonight. Got T and Ronnie. How's everybody doing?
Reedy's going to show up here in a few minutes. He's just running late.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I seen where Reedy had messaged saying he was going to be a little late. Guess we'll have to wait on Reedy for a bit, but in the meantime, what's everybody got going on?
Whole lot of nada for me.
Been kind of slow?
Not terribly slow, but been not as busy as I'd like it to be, and it's a lot of change. You know, half the equipment I'm offering is 410 and half's 454, and my power just flickered.
Oh, that's nice.
My wife walked in the door, and then all of a sudden the lights are flickering.
Tornado's coming.
Yeah. It's funny because my 454 air conditioners are like the same price as my 410 heat pumps.
How much of a price jump have you seen so far in rough percentage?
Well, for instance, I had a premium 2-speed furnace, 80% with a 2-speed AC that was $1,500 more than a 5-stage 410 air conditioner with the same furnace.
Oh boy.
I don't know if that's how much difference we're paying, but it's definitely how much difference we're charging.
Yeah, it seems like every time when I'm asking for prices for my salespeople, they're just like, "Do you need something right now? Because we can get you a price this very second. But otherwise, give us like 2 weeks."
Yeah, our
Because
prices
it's
are
like,
only good for 7 days now instead of 30
yeah,
days for now.
yeah,
So you tell them that this is a transition period
I
from
did tell them that.
refrigeration.
Absolutely, and I let them know that if it goes outside that time frame, the price is definitely going to be different, and there's a good chance that if they want a 410 piece of equipment today, tomorrow they may end up with a 454B, depending on once we run out of what we have in stock.
Okay.
I had a lady spend $1,500 more on a 454B unit today because she didn't want a 410A piece of equipment because it's not as ozone friendly.
Really?
yeah.
Well, you also had one that didn't want it because she didn't want something that was going to be outdated, right?
Same person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not
She
really
was like,
paying attention to the
she was
news.
65, and she was like,
Worried
you
about
know,
climate change? Climate's going to
basically,
change on her
yep,
when she's 68.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially since their 410 unit had blew its entire charge. It was a flat unit.
Oh my God. It's her fault. Temperature's going to go up and it's her fault. Well, at least we know who to blame. Send me her address. I'll send her a postcard. Shame, shame, shame.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ronnie, tell us a little bit about how you've been using the free quote process. Because I know you kind of got stuck because these tables were not working very well before.
Yeah. I mean, the likely load in your 6-function video is basically what I've been selling on
Okay.
for in the past. I'm working
Opens
on
up the
these.
conversation.
It definitely does, yeah, and even with that lady, she thought about doing a 5-speed unit. Considered going with a heat pump. She declined doing a heat pump, even with a gas furnace. Decided to spend more money on a
So you had some kind of
454B
prejudice
AC.
against heat pumps?
Yeah, I talked to her about it a little bit, and she said she'd lived in a house before that was older, that wasn't real comfortable, and felt like it was blowing cold air all the time. And basically I explained, heat pumps have gotten better, and went over. I said these heat pumps aren't like those heat pumps, and I said, and if you're totally
Probably not
against the
set up
full,
right.
probably not set up right. And I said, commissioning's a big part, installation's a big part. And I said, if you're totally against the electric furnace, we can do it with the gas furnace. And I basically just showed her the video, said that, the load matching is a
Better
lot
with the
better
heat
with a
pump.
heat pump, and explained, you need this much heat and this much cooling on the most extreme days, which are probably like 1 or 2 days a year, sometimes more. And that's what we size the equipment is based on the extreme days. So what she opted to do rather than getting a heat pump is doing a 2-stage gas furnace with a 2-speed air conditioner.
Okay.
Which, again, will load match better than it did. And at the same time, she's got
Did you downsize her equipment?
I did not.
So she chose not to do that. Was she already in the green?
She's a 4-ton, almost a 5,000 square foot house. I didn't have a lot of information on the house. And then it has a basement on top of that square footage.
Did
Pretty
she
big
want to
house.
pay for the static pressure or anything?
We had a static pressure reading. It was 0.6 on the old system. Furnace installed flat on the floor. I did downsize the furnace 20,000 BTUs.
Okay.
And that's just because that's what my 4-ton was paired with. She had a
Gotcha.
135, and we went down to a 110.
Okay. And it's a 2-stage.
And it's a 2-stage, yep.
So that'll drop to what, like 90 or 70?
60%. So.
Oh, 70.
70, yeah.
Okay, so she's basically got a 70. How big is the pump going to be? It's 2.5
air
and
conditioner.
4.
4-ton air conditioner, yeah, 63% low.
Less than 2.5 ton. So she's probably going to have some noticeable improvement, unless there's dehumidification.
I would think so. I should dehumidify better than the 410 system she had. Pure on Advance should.
Okay.
Especially with it being 2-speed.
Yeah. Does it have an infinity control, or what's the control on that?
It's infinity control with the NIM.
Oh, that's right. You always do a NIM if you can. So, yeah, you served her pretty well, even with a handicap of all of her biases. That's awesome.
Yep.
So likely load range and 6 functions, and then thorough notes in your contract.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to change sizing in this house with the ductwork that she had, and she had plenty of ductwork. I mean, this house used to have 4 or 5 zones. It's got trunk lines everywhere.
Okay. Well, it'll be good to hear how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be better than it was. The zoning's been abandoned since the last system that was in the house was replaced. It's an old carrier zoning system, and this system was put in 2007. A company that we had bought had had installed the system actually. Interesting enough that she had a generator installed about a week ago. The air conditioner was working. They ran like conduit and gas lines between the wall and that unit, and now the unit blows the charge. The unit was installed with soft solder.
Yeah.
That company.
She got a lot of use out of that system if it was poorly installed.
And it was 410. That company had installed all their equipment like that.
Huh. And Tanner, you've been using the free quote process and not using the tables, or how were you, or were you able to make the tables work at all?
Yeah, I've been able to make them work, even, which I guess even before uh, the tables got fixed to where we could actually adjust things the way we needed to. I was I was kind of able to use them sometimes, but I would just kind of have to preface it with like, "Hey, just so you know, uh, humidification, forget about that," or the ones that are blank, like
Right.
there'd be like the monthly ones, and it would just be blank. So there were things that I was just leaving blank.
You were
Just
making lots of excuses
yeah,
for bad
uh,
software. Sorry about that.
yeah. Well, it's just part of it. Uh, so in the correction of after the correction, yeah, I've used it. The latest successful one I would say was uh, it was a service call that was a bad compressor. The terminals blew out, dumped the charge. Was going to need a new compressor, recharge, all that good stuff. And they went from I got them a quote for that, and they were like, "Hey, how much would it be just to get a new unit?" And so I said, "Well, if like I can give you ballpark ranges of what we're looking at, and if that seems reasonable, then we can move forward with." I'm starting to call it my initial comfort plan, and so I say we can do something called an initial comfort plan. It's just a free process that I do that ends up giving you a quote. So if we're in the ballpark, we can check it out. And they were like, "Sure." They said, "Yeah, we're kind of in that ballpark. We're thinking instead of putting more money into it, we think we may just do that." So went and did the free quote, showed them the report, and the top. I'm leaning into these top three options of being green speed, the top option, the 5 stage being the step down from that, and then a Daikin fit Goodman side discharge, whatever model you want to call it. That's going to be my third tier from down from the top, and the after they seen all the things, I sent the videos before I got there so they could see them before, you know, I got there and we discussed things. After doing all that, they ended up being like, "Well, they were really liking the Daikin Fit option for the price." And so they were like,
Mhm.
"We're really feeling like that, but we don't have the money for it." So then they pivoted again and decided to just replace the compressor and get the unit back going, so that way they can buy themselves a little bit more time, so that way they can get the equipment they would prefer to get rather than replace the system as it was, because this was a package unit, so we was going to have to convert from a package unit to a split unit. There was some ductwork corrections that needed to be made, so there were other improvements that was also looming that they knew about. And so they were kind of like, well, instead of just replacing this box with another box just like it and we not being happy with it, we'd rather just get it going again, spend that money, uh, get us some more time to get more prepared to make, to be able to buy the better system that we want, and then we'll move forward with that. So I felt like it did a really good job there of kind of, you know, guiding people
Helping them
along to making,
understand how not
yeah,
to make a 15 to 20-year mistake.
yeah. And I would also like to add,
Take
this is
took the
a,
urgency away, help
yeah,
them make the decision to repair instead of replace.
yeah. And I would also like to add, I did this like this took place at the free quote, and this had happened two other times that I'd done with a comfort consult. And so I've now been able to essentially I'm going to achieve the same results of a comfort consult, but in a fraction of the amount of time and effort and energy, essentially. And
Right,
so it's
because 'cause they're gonna
this,
lean in and spend probably 25 or $30,000
yeah.
and do the kind of system that would result from a comfort consult without having to do the comfort consult. Did you do static pressure, or
No, because this is a unit that I've been servicing for a while, and so
so you
we
knew?
already had a built history of like they already knew ahead of time that their ductwork was problematic because the static pressure was high. I'd already had that discussion
Okay,
with them even before they seen the videos. Uh, there was what else? There was like a bunch of little things that like there was temperature differences in one part of the house versus the other that we had already kind of discussed, and so I felt like this was this was really the first uh, the the first sales ish handoff that I've had where I've started out doing just like regular maintenances with a system and kind of preloaded a lot of this information with the homeowner before it got to this point to then carry it over. And so I felt like, honestly, I would probably, how I did that free quote, I would probably do it differently. And I think I could actually do it in a lot less time than what I did
Mm-hmm.
because there was a bit of redundancy and just I was following the script and the process. And honestly, I think that was a time that I probably could have skipped steps just because some of those steps had already been done multiple times. And so I'm
Okay.
thinking, and this is what I've been trying to do, and what I think there may be some validity and it may work of being able to, if you start it even at the maintenance visits of, having that duct pressure conversation and showing them what's going on, you can preload a lot of this if a lot of these issues. And then when you get to the sales call, everything's already kind of predetermined. You're just then kind of like showing them the options of like they already know roughly like what they're looking to avoid, what they're looking to fix, and all these things. And so then you show them all the options and you use the 6 functions with the smiley faces. And then I think it's going to really carry them over to be like, okay,
So,
we know what
so
we're trying to avoid, what we want.
this is really working the way you had anticipated. It's going to allow you to gradually educate them more and more over time so that they're more and more clear on what's going on with their system.
Hmm.
And therefore, it'll be easier for them to learn the 6 functions stuff because they already understand the deficiencies of their system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it'll make the whole sales process much less of a mountain.
Yeah. And which, granted, this is only one that it's happened this way so far. So I will find out more as I do this. But then my next step of what I'm thinking about beginning to incorporate with the maintenance visits is to build a comfort improvement plan to basically be like, okay, the system's currently working, but we've outlined the deficiencies. And so being able to kind of create this plan of like, okay, here's a list of improvements that uh, I think could be beneficial and that you have said that you want to do. And so here's the list of priorities of how we'll kind of go about this. And so then it begins this task list of, we can begin correcting things like doing a big airdrop before you replace the system, adding in a good filter, doing the fresh air, and doing these things before it gets to the system. So then it's not just doing everything all at once. Or it also presets it up to be like, you lay out this plan, but the system dies sooner than expected. So you have to change out the equipment, but you're already kind of preconditioned. Okay, well then let's just go ahead and knock out 2, 3, and 4 on our list and be done. And then we'll go ahead and then we'll continue on with 5, 6, yada yada. Because we all know you can create a laundry list of problems. You're never gonna have the perfect house because there's always something to improve. And so being able to kind of create a list and have it to where, instead of people trying to upsell bullshit, you can lay out this plan for improvements of someone's house to where every time they spend money, their house is getting better and better and better. And hopefully at the end of after it's all said and done,
Noticeably better too, not
yeah,
placebo better.
yeah. And then hopefully it just gets to the point to where everything is corrected. And then we know what size HVAC we need. And then every 20 years, swap a box and you're good to go.
Hmm. So there are folks watching on YouTube. Please like the video because we need those likes apparently for the algorithm. Um, and if you want to introduce, yeah, I figured Jason was in there. Okay, so
Thanks, Jason.
thanks for making it, Jason. Um, so maybe we should talk a little bit about this. this is sort of me working my way through the first. Well, so Eric did this. He made this editable. So you can call it whatever you want. But through discussion with you guys, it seems to have made sense to put all of the 6 functions in this top table and then sort of create this bracketing so that you can help people sort of narrow in based on either their or the issues that they're experiencing, what type of replacement they want. And then I think once we get this a little bit tighter, we'll send it all out as March 2025. So it'll be in your template as March 2025, and then you can edit it. And this won't be edited in the client. This will be edited in your templates. So for those that aren't familiar of how this looks, this is a sample client that Reedy helped me build. And so you have your price ranges, a single stage, 2-stage, modulating hybrid, and a modulating heat pump. And then I was thinking for stages, you could probably even help them understand the stages for typical single stage, which would be, if you do a single stage is typically going to be 1 heating and 1 cooling. But if you get a hybrid, it might be 2 heating stages and 1 cooling. And most of you guys are, even for single stage, you're selling hybrids a fair amount of the time. So this might be a way to visually help them understand that they're actually getting 2 stages because they've made the decision to get a hybrid. And the same comes true if you go to a 2-stage unit. You might have 2-1 or might have 2-2. And then if you have a 2, it could be a 3-2 if it's a hybrid. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different combinations a 2-stage could be. And then this is lots of stages for both heating and cooling. And then you could talk about sizing as single stage would be, for example, 60K 3-ton. Or if it's a 2-stage, it might be 40 to 60K 3-ton. Or it might be 40 to 60K 2 and 3-ton. If they're both 2-stage. And then, of course, modulating hybrid might be 20 to 60K on the gas side and 2 to 3-ton on the cooling or heat pump side. And then for a modulating heat pump, 1 to 3-ton with 369 a backup. I think I can.
Something that's pretty annoying about the new Carrier furnaces is the 2-speed is now 97% efficient, and they call the modulating a 97% efficient, even though it's 98.5%. So I've asked our company to change the label on it from 97 to 98.5, or at least to 98, to distinguish a difference. Because they see a lot of people go off efficiencies, which I care less about how efficient the unit is. I care more about how much control you have, and so modulating would be a much better choice than a 2-speed. But if they see 2 furnaces that are the same efficiency, they're more apt to go with a 2-speed furnace just because it's cheaper.
Okay.
It's only a few $100s cheaper. It's not much, but the TN6 is now a TN7, which is a 97% efficient 2-stage gas furnace.
Okay. Well, and then I would do filter, which is basic media, MERV 13, MERV 16. And this might be one of those things where you explain to them that if you can get this system with this filter if you want. So I'm actually thinking maybe, I don't know if there's a way to, like this, maybe I would put option, something like that, because to make it clear. And then dehumidification, like this would be a ventilating dehumidifier, and that would clearly be an option. And then if they went with straight reheat at the top end, they're going to get reheat dehumidification. And you guys all have pretty good, and better than I could ever come up with, good ways of explaining that. And then like the water saver humidifier, which would also, like, maybe you would put optional.
You actually put worst in there in terms of load matching?
You could put whatever you want. This is a smiley face. But yeah, single stage is going to be the worst load matching, right?
I mean, technically, yes. It's just not a good word to associate with a piece of equipment that someone's going to spend $11,000 on.
Well, this isn't a word. This is going to show up as a smiley face.
Oh, gotcha.
So these are smiley face rows?
I know that. I'm just being, I understand.
No, it's good that you call it out because other people don't. And I think the way that this table hopefully is going to work, I asked Eric if the whole table could be resized so you could drag it so you don't have to scroll within the table. Because it might be easier if people could see the whole table. So you scroll it down and you're just working on one table and it's taking up your whole screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lower part would be the specification building exercise or specification building. In which case you can list out what they currently have and the smiley faces associated with that. I mean, these are 6 functions, right? So they've just watched the 6 function video and they know that what functions. This way they know what functions their current equipment has. And then this might be their initial specification. I'm thinking you'd want to also put best that you offered, because then later, if you go back to review, if they have certain things that they want to address, like their common one is, hey, this isn't dehumidifying the house well. And now we're paying attention to humidity because there's, there's relative humidity on our thermostat. And you told us ideally we'd want to keep it between 20 and 50 and it's going above 60 a lot. So you'd want to have sort of all of the best things that you would offer in here, including the ventilating dehumidifier and the water saver humidifier. And then I put an extra row just saying 6 functions, which could just be removed, but I wanted to distinguish it for myself as I was building this out. And then was it Reedy or Ronnie? Reedy, was that you talking about people complaining about noise a lot? So it'd be good to have noise.
No, that wasn't me.
Ronnie, was that you?
I think that was me. It wasn't
People
as much.
do complain about noise, but it wasn't me.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as much of complaints, but it was. Well, people wouldn't complain about it until you started kind of until you started kind of like pulling some of that paying out to where they'd be like, I mean, it's like you hear it, but it's not that bad. But then you start talking about some other units that's a lot quieter and how much quieter, and then they go, oh wow, that's actually really cool. And
Yeah.
so
So were we talking about, hey, this unit's placed right next to your bedroom window. Would you like it to be a little quieter? Or maybe it was Timmy. Somebody was saying that it was kind of becoming a sort of a regular thing, and so they wanted to see it in here. So I just put it in here, and
yeah, I've started adding it on occasion as well, just to kind of. The tricky part is the like I said, the DAC and fit for me has now been the third down from the top option, but it's also the quietest option, and so
right,
I'm
it's
not
going to be even
sure.
quieter than a green speed.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna if you really list some of these things out, it's gonna be hard to like sell the price difference in the 5 or stage of the green speed compared to this fit when you start looking at everything. So
yeah, right.
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, so instead of, you know, and you could do this as a smiley face row.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And so this could be good and good, and this could actually be best.
Yeah, that's what I've done. Which it kind of makes it look a little weird because you're typically used to seeing everything progressively getting better as you move left to right. But
Right.
now it's like most things are progressive left to right, and then you have this one thing that just kind of sticks out. So that's been kind of the hiccup of I'm like,
Well,
is that
that's a
gonna?
you and me as autists problem. We like to see all our great and the right, but normies are like, yeah, that's okay. I can perfectly understand this.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it bothers me.
yeah. But then there's going to be the person that's like, I wanted to go with the green speed, but I just really like a quiet system. So it's like you downsell somebody because of noise. But I mean, if that's what's important to them, then you're probably making the right choice there.
So this is a bug that appeared when Eric made the most recent updates, and so he's going to be fixing that. And this is how it would look. You know, the smiley, biggest smiley face. But these are still way better than. Well, why don't I go fix that? Oh, sleep. Okay. So it's going to look like this. Which, that's good. And I just had this other row for dropping notes into, which, you can add or remove these just by asking it to be removed. So, and I think in the template, we're also going to make this editable so that every time you go grab the template, you don't have to edit within the client.
I really like that just because now we can at least play around and see how we want to adjust things. It gives a
Yeah.
lot more flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility is the key. Make it so it works. As you're out there iterating through this, we can allow it to improve with your iteration.
Yeah. Yeah. And one way that I'm actually using that because it actually worked out perfect because something that I did today would end up being useful. I'm doing the normal table is kind of like we're doing here with all the functions in one on the top, but this situation they're looking to replace both their systems. So then the second table, because they were like, well, what if we get the better one for the downstairs, and then like a two-stage for the upstairs or something, because they weren't as worried about the upstairs. So then the second table, I'm doing combination options to go. Okay, here's what you're looking at for uh, you know the value option for both upstairs and downstairs, and what if you get the value and the enhanced, or value in premium and enhanced in premium, and yada yada. And so I'm
Oh, wow. That's going to be
giving me,
complicated.
yeah, well, I'm not breaking down all the 6 functions with that. I'm doing that all up top with the different levels, and then the
Okay.
second one is just a few rows going, here's your combination of sizes, which lines for each one, and price, and that's all that it's going to be.
Okay.
And so just being able to kind of edit that table to kind of make it flow better. I like it because it just adds that flexibility for this weird scenario where you're replacing both units at the same time, you know, like this. It kind of, and they're wanting like one type of unit for downstairs and one type of unit for upstairs, and they're wanting different options for different things like that. It just kind of gives some flexibility to give
We just
different
want
options
heat
there.
and cooling upstairs because we hardly ever spend time there.
Yeah.
And it's mostly guest rooms.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the other thing I was doing, tying duct pressure. Where was that? I thought I was tying duct pressure in here somewhere as a range thing.
Oh, you put max duct flow, static pressure right there. It is.
Ah, okay, 0.8. Yes. What do you think about that?
Is that not a little redundant given that the top portion of the report has what the static pressure is?
And I'm thinking that it probably is, but I'd like to put it into the template so that people can remove it rather than not having it there. But I'm open to not having it even in the template.
Yeah. I think the tricky part with us laying it out this way is it's going to be very easy for it to get very confusing and congested.
Yep. I'm open to that too.
Because I think the smiley faces keep things simplified enough to where you can have more line items with smiley faces and it not be nearly as overwhelming and confusing. But when you have text rows,
Oh, so this should actually be a smiley face row.
yeah.
Okay.
That might work. Now the tricky,
So I'll add a smiley row. Call it static.
or duct pressure,
Okay.
since that's what we call it in the 90-second video.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is sort of making assumptions, right? But
Yeah, which
assuming that,
depending on how much information you know, I mean,
right,
if you know total flow and you know the current static pressure, and then you know by changing the size what flow you're going to be moving to, you can predict what the static pressure will be.
right.
100%. They Jeff Howard actually did that in his class. I went to at the
Yeah.
Carrier Factory.
I used Grok to code and build out a static pressure forecast tool on my website that I just got a thing saved on my home screen of my phone. I just open it up and and it has like a two gauges. It has a scale of, yellow or dark green, light green, yellow, red, and such. So then you can plug it in and plot it out.
Oh, this used to go to the bottom too, didn't it? He's got it going to the top now. Reedy, is that what you brought that up, I think.
Say that again.
Did you at one point bring up that when you clicked on save and preview,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
came to the bottom?
Right.
Now it goes to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really, Eric is so this stuff moves so much faster with Eric.
I
Yeah.
noticed that today that it did. I went and I built a free quote report today for a lady, and it did just that, like it should.
Okay. That's
And I sent him something. There's a little thing that I found. My screen is a touch screen, and I can use a mouse. But if I press on the mouse, if you go to where you've got the columns and the rows, and you want to take one of the columns away, if you press it with your finger, it'll just reorganize all of the text. And so
Mm.
you press it 3 times, it'll go back to where it started. But
you
if you take your
found
mouse,
a workaround.
yeah, if you take your mouse, it'll do it. It'll just
Okay.
pull the thing away. That was weird.
Oh, that's so God. I'm so glad I'm not doing programming, because that stuff would make my head explode. Oh,
Well, I always think it's me because, I'm not familiar with this stuff, but today
it's not. When it comes to software, we want to know.
Yeah.
So please don't think that, because we need the fee. We don't have some, whole room full of guys testing the software. You are our guinea pigs and our beta testers. But I think this is moving fast enough that pretty soon the bugs will be few and far between. Knock on wood. So, you got any good Reedy stories?
Yeah, I got 2. One of them was I used the line, I would love for you to give me the honor of giving the last bid. Sure, I will. And she called me back. She didn't give me the last bid.
Okay. So is this the one you and I debriefed on?
Yeah, she did not give me.
So you're gonna have to reverse them a couple of times in order to get full commitment.
Yeah, because it was just sort of a
In
quit.
passing.
Yeah, and
It needs to be a firm commitment from them.
yeah.
And I think you need to explain to them the benefits to them of getting you to do last bid is that oftentimes you find people are cutting corners, and your company, while it's sometimes willing to cut corners, is not willing to cut corners you're not aware of. So my bid doesn't cut any of those corners. We're replacing the line set, we're replacing the whip and disconnect and replacing pads and all that stuff. Now, we could save a whole lot of money by not doing those things. And if you see a bid that you like better than mine, there's a chance that they're not doing those things. And I can point that out to you if you give me the privilege of last to bid. So it doesn't just benefit me, but it benefits you. Also, I don't get paid if I don't sell the job. And so one of the ways that you can pay me if you decide to go with somebody else is by giving me the opportunity of last bid. I understand why I lost the job. And I view the opportunity to learn a thing as payment. for my time and my effort. So I don't feel like the time I spent with you was uncompensated.
Mm-hmm.
And by giving me the privilege of last to bid, you're compensating me.
Right.
Do you feel like the value I brought today, that you already said nobody else has given you this level of education and assistance in figuring out the right system for you? Do you feel like it's something I should be compensated for? And, that puts them in a spot where, no, I feel like your opportunity to win my business is your compensation. Oh, okay. So then I won't feel so bad about not giving you a price right now.
That's
Here's
right.
your price range. You're getting all of this stuff. You're not getting a price bid because I get compensated for giving you a price bid. I view my job as helping you make good decisions, and not building 18 million different prices for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to give me a path to compensation, then I won't do the valuable part, which is giving you a bid.
Right.
And I think that this continues to improve, this narrative and our approach to doing it. We'll probably memorialize it within the free quote, so it's just part of a script at the bottom. And I think we'll need to salt questions about their decision-making process throughout the free quote. So how urgent is this? When were you hoping to make a decision? How
Mm-hmm.
soon were you hoping to get this installed? Asking those questions are timing questions.
Right.
And they can help you schedule, because the other thing I think that needs to happen is I think you need to schedule the bid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the things that Austin found was really helpful for him in getting his comfort consult reviews was scheduling a time to come back and do the comfort consult review at the initial visit. And for free quote, if we look at free quote as an initial visit, even though it's not a comfort consult, that might be a helpful reframe.
It's funny you say that because I did that today. I did that exact thing, loosely. I didn't send her the report. I didn't give her a bid. She wasn't interested in that. She wants to think about it. We talked about what she wanted. She has a 22 square 100-foot house, and she's got a 2-ton in it, and it works fine, except for it's a single stage. And
so it works fine so long as it's hot.
Right. Well, for the heating, what her main problem was is that she wanted that the heating to feel warm coming out, and her load. I of course we have to do the cool calc. I did the cool calc. It came up to 20,000 BTUs.
Oh,
for heating. Yeah, and so that's a real opportunity to go take her straight to the green, because even and she wanted a furnace and an air conditioner. I asked her why, and she said, because I want to feel hot air when I put my foot over the grill. And what we found out is that she's got a fresh air it's not controlled in any way. It's just a damper that goes straight to the back of the unit, and whenever the unit runs, or for that matter, if the dryer runs or the bath fan runs,
or if the fan's just on,
yeah, it's going to bring in cold air. Right. her blower door on that house, I didn't do that. Someone else did it from, I think they're called Southeast Energy Group or something like that. It was 744.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, no wonder a 2-ton carried a 2,400 square foot house.
Right. And so her problem is that if we were to put a furnace in there, they don't make a furnace that's small enough to run long enough.
Are
We
you going
can't.
to be unhappy if having an oversized furnace makes your house uncomfortable?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we've got this. I told her, I said, let's talk again in a few days, and she said, okay, great. I'll be expecting a few days. Just she said, I really want you to send me the report, and I'm gonna watch the videos again, and I'm gonna see, and we'll
She'll
know.
make
And
all the connections.
yeah, and you know, I think she's gotten 2 or 3 different quotes. I'm not sure of that because she was sort of cagey, but the point is that because we're able to talk things through and talk about the videos and all this stuff, she's got a whole lot better understanding than she did.
Mm-hmm.
And I have all ideas she's going to get a green speed. She may get a crossover, but if she does, it's going to be smaller than what she's got. And it's going to, that crossover now, we can get that controller and it'll be full variable. You can run it in dehumidify, but not reheat dehumidify.
Okay.
And she said, well, this one's more efficient. Why should I get the green speed? I said, because it's better. Control all the 6 functions, it's got them. And because she's got a humidifier.
This smiley face over here
Right.
is one that you don't. But if you have humidity problems later, you can always get a ventilating dehumidifier, or those generally run $5,000 to $8,000.
Right. Well, what I did, because I hadn't made her report up yet, is I showed her someone else's report, and we talked about what the smiley faces and all that stuff meant. And I think when I got there, she was, I want a hybrid heat, or I want an air conditioner with a gas furnace. And now
You have
we're
gas for the house?
yeah, she does. She's got gas,
Okay.
but they don't make a furnace small enough. I mean,
Right.
she's got a 20,000 BTU load. So
Right.
the answer is to go with a 1.5 ton crossover or a green speed 2-ton. And I can't wait. I did send her the report. And we'll
Can
go
you
over
run
that.
that crossover in comfort mode?
Well, if you do it in with the controller, I don't remember what the controller is called, but if you use that controller, it will run it down to like, I think it'll run it down to like 4,000 BTUs, and it'll run the fan speed down too. So it's at that point it is an inverter. It's just that when it comes to knowing the static pressure, you don't know that. It's conversely, if you run it as with an Ecobee and you run it in 2 stages, you're going to get like 50-50. So it'll be 1 ton and then it'll kick up.
Okay.
Actually, it's not 50-50. I think it's like 70-30, 70-100.
Okay.
So it's still sort of a good way to deal with it, but
Sure. It's like any 2-stage, really.
yeah. So I'm glad about that one. That was good considering that one lady, she sort of backed out of her stuff, but it came down to, for her, it came down to cost. That's what she told me. She said cost. So
Right. And that's where you lean in harder on, well, if you give me the privilege of last to bid, you'll know that whether or not we truly are the lowest cost or not.
yeah,
Because it's not necessarily that we're not the lowest cost. Sometimes we are.
yeah,
But you need it to be you need an apples to apples bid.
that one lady, I was telling you about. There's a company around here called Four Seasons, and all they do piecework, which I think is sort of it can be a double-edged sword, but overall I think it's probably a good thing if you trust the people putting the equipment in, your workers. But they always underbid us, and they were underbidding us on this one. And I already sold this lady a unit before, like in 2018 or something like that, 2017. And so it came time talking about the unit in the duct system upstairs. She wasn't interested in a blower door, any of that. Um, it was a 2-ton. Or we could have put a 1.5 ton if we put a new duct system in, or a 2-ton if we left the duct system as it was. She split the difference and said she wanted a 2-ton and a new duct system. So that's kind of the way we left it. They were putting in a trunk line that was like 8 feet long. It was just a straight shot off the unit, and 4 runs on the first joint, 4 runs on the second joint. What we were doing is we were putting in a trunk line that was 30 feet long, and we were reducing it down like you should. And she said, "You guys are $6,000 more. What's the difference?" And I said, let's go back and talk about this. And you didn't really want me to spend time with a report, and I'm glad I did get her a report. And once she looked over it, she called me and she said, she said, because I showed her the expanded performance data of their unit and our unit, and we talked about the duct, again, and she went with us $6,000 more. And so, that is only because of smiley faces and sitting here talking about it. So just a second, where you're at. See where you're at right there?
Mm-hmm.
Is yours a touch screen or is it?
No, I got a mouse, but
Okay.
so this would be. You could probably do a competition bid here, and call it. I wonder if I can. No, it's not copying. I'll have to ask Eric if we can get that to copy, because that would be nice.
Yeah, I've always noticed you could never copy paste in any of the blanks.
Yeah, you can't do that. Guys, I'm losing it here. I'm losing wakefulness.
Okay.
I am going to watch
Do you
the
have
rest
another
of this.
story, or did you give them both?
I give them both. Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to watch the rest of this. If you guys got more, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. See you.
Okay, Reedy.
All
Thanks.
right. See you, Rudy.
So maybe there would be a row for a competition bid. And then you do, in that case, they were not going to be fixing ductwork, and they probably weren't gonna, maybe you would call this bad in Reedy's situation and call it fair. Something like that. Yeah, so this is the initial specification, competition, and later you come back and say final bid to competition, and then you'd put, $13,500 here, $12,400 there. Say, they're not apples to apples. Do you want me to turn this into a frowny face? Turn this into a very unhappy face? Because that's probably the cause of the $800 or $1,200 difference. What do you think, Tanner?
I like it. Which the competition one that might be a as needed use for it.
Right.
I think
Right.
that'll probably get deleted most of the time. But
Yeah. Be nice to have it
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this. I'm feeling like it's good progress.
Yeah.
Pretty soon this will be kind of plug and play for folks.
Yeah, I think so. I think once we get, we get this kind of established of a baseline, and then all of us can start testing it, see what happens, see what works, see what as we remove things, add things, play around with it and change things around, see, what we find to work best.
Mm-hmm.
And I
So
think
yeah, go ahead.
oh, but just, after we kind of stress test it and refine it, I think we're on the track for something that can be really useful for plug and play for someone else to just grab it and run with it.
Yeah. So, and I also want to take this opportunity to review the account page, because this is the home page. It gives you your clients. But if you click on the account page, gets you your user profile, settings and templates, takes you here, and then you go to equipment templates, and this is where you can actually build or modify your basic template. So it'll show up for each client like that. This right here, Eric will make editable, so that'll be good. And then when you're making the changes, like that one I just added to the client, you can make them here, which I didn't do by, adding the smiley row and then add the text row, and then you can tell it to use it as a default. So it's your primary default template. And other things you can do on this page is you can use this to put a box to the comfort quiz and client information on your website so that people can complete the comfort quiz. So you don't have to always complete it. And then here's a link to do the same thing. So you can send it to them or have it on your web page. And then in here are the subscription levels. Maintenance, starter, and subscriber. So what we have basically is the software is free to use for the first month or the first 3 months. I don't remember. And then it goes to $6 a month maintenance fee. This lead gen stuff I just talked about, you do not get with the $6 a month plan. And then if you do a comfort consult, which most people in the beginner setup are not likely to be doing comfort consults, because that's sort of a black belt level service. And that this takes a fair amount of learning to learn how to do. But the free quote report, running a free quote for clients, is $10. And there are this is truly an a la carte plan. And then if you do the starter plan, which is $26 a month, you get 2 reports per week. So, and it doesn't matter which reports, but again, for black belts who only do a couple of reports a month, this probably is going to be the best plan, because if you're not doing a lot of reports, comfort consult reports tend to have very high closing rate and very big dollar sales associated with them, because if you do a comfort consult for somebody, they understand that you're likely the only person within 1,000 miles that's capable of actually delivering the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, additional free quotes. So if you're running a fair number of leads, you may end up paying an additional $10 or $20 a week. And then the subscriber plan, which is all included, as many comfort consult reports or free quote reports as you do, is going to be continue it at the $500 startup fee and then $200 a month cost. And I suspect only larger companies that are using a lot of the starter plans will maybe have one subscriber account for somebody, like Ronnie's the only one who's going to be capable of doing comfort consults in Louisville for the next year or two anyway, because it probably takes a year to train somebody how to do a comfort consult on their own. And like Austin is the only person in Indianapolis. So, and that's all right here in the user profile. And then manage billing takes you to the billing, and I'm on a founder rate on my plan of $1 a month, which is basically a subscriber account, if that makes sense. So all of this stuff needs to be kind of explained in videos, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think how far are we on this?
We're a little bit over an hour now.
Okay. Well, Jason, you want to jump in for after hours? Is Jason still there? Because I think we're done. And week after next, we're going to have Joe Madosh back.
Yep.
We're going to have another meeting with Joe about Measure Quick. So
yeah, I think we'll be talking static pressure.
He's gonna do a deeper dive on static pressure and how Measure Quick adds a whole nother level of confidence that can be provided to the homeowner, that when you do static pressure using Measure Quick, you're not just sort of using wizardry tools and making up numbers, because you can actually get a report that helps people know what their actual static pressure is. And also, depending on how deep you want to go into Measure Quick, it can actually help a homeowner understand that their 4-ton system has only ever been providing 2.5 ton of capacity because of the ductwork.
Yeah.
And that's communicating to a homeowner that they're only getting 2.5 ton out of their 4-ton system is a very powerful way to help them be comfortable leaning towards the green when they decide on their replacement size.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a great meeting. I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, Tanner and I are going to end this stream. Rich, I'm sorry about your notifications. Good news is this is going to be in our HVAC20 live. If you go to our YouTube, it'll be and then go to the live tab. You'll find this video, and you can listen to it at 1.5 times speed. You don't have to listen to us slow talkers. But Rich, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll come back in 2 weeks. And Jason, jump in.